do is they really capture some beauty of the soul. Oh, awesome. So I hope as you guys are filling in the room and you guys are starting to listen, get yourself ready for an amazing conversation with my man Jeffrey. Oh, you got the same ones, baby. Oh, see, doesn't the world seem a little bit brighter with these?
It does, and the thing is, I don't know if I got these because of the screens, right?
Uh huh.
It brightens non-screens up, but
Mm-hmm.
also what's interesting is I notice
Uh huh.
that my eyes take a breath of fresh air when I'm looking at the screen, and it's just like, oh,
Mm.
I can feel them relax.
I feel it 100%. Especially, I mean, just sitting in front of the computer, podcasting, and just being cooped up right now. I've personally seen myself use computers a lot more, and I honestly I kind of hate it. But you do what you do. Like I'm more of an in-person kind of guy, but you do what you do.
Yeah.
Uh, my gosh. So I wanna welcome you to Almighty Psyche podcast here, where
Uh,
the whole goal is I just want to get to know you. It's just hey, I don't know who you are. Let's figure out who you are and let's see what we can share with the world and trying to give some positivity or maybe not even positivity, but some lessons that people can adhere to their own life based on your experiences or your understandings of how things have gone. First thing I want to mention is that painting in the background is freaking amazing. I love it. It looks like there's gold, there's epoxy. Oh yeah, nice couple layers, a lot of dimension, a lot of depth. I love the texture. My gosh, that's gorgeous.
nice, right?
Oh, so good. Did you make that? Did you know the artist who made that? That's amazing.
No, I'm actually for the last couple months I've been staying in a friend's place in
Uh,
Hermosa Beach,
ooh,
and I mean I align with her music. I mean she's an old friend of mine. I
yeah.
align with everything about it, and I agree. It's an amazing the epoxy. It's just so gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes I just want to touch it and
Oh
just
yeah,
be part of it. Yeah,
yeah. I can see it from here. Yeah, the reflection is perfect. I don't see any bubbles. I don't see any imperfections. I
yeah.
love I love the epoxy work. It's really gaining popularity right now.
Oh, is it? It's funny. It's funny that you say that because I'm sitting here and I'm like, there's nothing back there. I wonder if the background's good, and you're commenting on that, which is interesting because to me, the subject is your background.
Whoops.
Oh my God, I love it. Yeah, it's
Thank
amazing. It's
thank you very
just
much.
yeah.
I figured
I,
you need something, and then and this is my artwork, so I just hang it up there, give it a nice little frame for myself.
did you paint that?
So this is a digital painting. So this specifically is, and I have something on the back as well. Like it's
Got
two
it.
sided, different sided. It's a digital painting that I created through photo manipulation. The back side of this is a painting that I did some mirroring and did some again photo manipulation to just expand it and make it bigger.
Mm.
Yeah, just for the backdrop purposes. And but yeah, I mean I painted it and then I just made it bigger.
That's awesome. I love the colors, and I'll tell you an interesting story about art since we're in this.
Please.
Is I used to act.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved down to LA to act. And when I first started, I was doing a corporate job up in San Francisco, and I was doing, every little project I could get my hands on. San Francisco's a very small market, so either a big, a couple films a year that were big came through. There were some commercials, and then mostly there was a lot of indie stuff and things like that to kind of, build your chops a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and understand what it was all about. So I was I noticed that I had been doing a lot of films. There were shorts, and I had been leads in shorts. And I'm thinking to myself, literally. So this is how the story goes. So I was in the shower, and I'm thinking to myself, I wasn't even thinking. It just landed. It's
Mm.
like the thought was, it's time for me to be a lead in a feature. I was like, okay. It wasn't like I want to be. It wasn't anything. It was just like, boom, it's time for.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay. And then, out of the shower, I go about my day. I forgot it. It's gone. So then I've had this feeling in the background. And, I was never a very good, in my mind, I was never a good painter. So I never painted much and I didn't do anything. I did the fruit in bowl and it looked more like, a stormy weather. So I was like, well, I can't do that. So that's not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I walked away from it, but then I had this urge to paint. And I'm like, what is this all about? Because I've already decided I can't paint.
Mm-hmm.
And the urge expressed itself. I want to put color onto a canvas and convey emotion that somebody gets.
Ah, yes.
And so I told a friend of mine who had quit his job and he was now painting full time. I said, I have this vision for this. He's like, well, for your birthday, why don't we do that? I'll give you a canvas and you can come up and you can paint. And I was like, perfect. So I go up and it's we painted and I'm painting and I'm doing the whole thing and we're drinking a little tequila in the process. I don't drink
Why
this
not? Yeah.
as ago, yeah, but it was really amazing. And so I'm painting and I have no idea how to paint. So he says, let me give you the colors in the right order so you don't muddle it all up. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but okay. So I'm just painting. I'm like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and maybe some here, and And as I'm painting, I'm telling him because I'm using a process that I'm taking from acting and applying it to
Mm-hmm.
art, which is if I feel it, you will feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't fake my acting and then have you believe me. I need to feel it so you can feel what I feel.
Amen.
So I'm telling we're having happy stories, sad stories. So I'm putting the emotion, I'm having the emotion, I'm putting it in, right? I finish, I'm done. It's like 1:30 in the morning, and my friend's like, the next morning, he said, ready to take me back from Marin back into San Francisco because I lived there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm ready to go. I've got my audition at 1 o'clock. And he's like, well, when do you want to come back and finish? I'm like, no, I'm finished with painting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finished with the picture. And he's offended. He's like, I'm a painter. Paintings take time. They take process. I'm like, yeah, okay, they do. And that was my time and that was my process
Mm-hmm.
and I am complete. So I go as the corporate worker who is now acting, during my free time and trying to express myself and find my energy. I go to this audition and I get the call 3 days later, you got the role as a lead in this feature that we're filming. Wait. And the role was as a painter.
Oh.
Who was trying to reconcile his day job for money with his expressing himself during his off hours.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
So, right. So so I painted that, and then that happened 3 days later.
Like everything you said, I can relate to so deeply because honestly, I feel the same way when I'm painting, like, my abstract expressionism, all that stuff, because I feel like I stumbled upon, Jackson Pollock, Helen Frankenthaler, just their approach to art is just like, this emotional expression you hold in your heart and then just kind of get it out. And it's about the process and the movement and, and the colors and everything that goes around. And I found a similar thing that happened to me. Anytime I would go and create and express this emotional bubble that I felt, whatever it was, it led to some sort of, physical creation that I experienced in the real world that I didn't have an explanation for, that was almost like, call it magic or whatnot. And I found it to be so mystical and moving, and that's why like art just continued to just expand in my life, especially leading into music. Like I found even a more condensed version of that expression, of that emotion, that I could just kind of send out into the universe and then just see those waves start to play with, I don't know, whatever is happening. Like I do not claim to understand what this universe is, but every day, I go out there and I just, I don't know, expand a little more, just try to feel what's happening. And every day it just seems weirder and weirder, and I'm okay with it. Just keep it coming. So you're an actor now, or what is it that you do now?
Yeah, so I'm a transformational coach. So
Mm-hmm.
I was down here for a little bit while I'm in LA in Hermosa
Mm-hmm.
Beach now. I was acting for a while. I enjoyed the process. I enjoyed a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had an awakening where it was no longer possible for me to create projects that were not in line with my vision of what I wanted to create in the world.
Amen.
And so, I believe that the media that we create, or anybody that creates, has an impact on us.
Hmm.
We are, again, like I'm and you, we're expressing something from an emotional place. I literally, when I was painting, wanted to put emotional content into the colors so that somebody else would feel it. I'm not
Hmm.
the only person on the earth that's doing that,
Hmm.
and I was thinking about this the other day. As I coach people as a transformational coach, it's really important how you think. It's really important what you surround yourself with and the messages that you take in. And, there's a practice. It's called affirmations. You can
Hmm.
say them over and over, and you can put them in different places where you see them, and they become the background for how you start to see the world. They drop into a subconscious level so that they start to impact the way that you move in the world, the energy that you have. And if you are ingesting food for thought,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
If you're ingesting thoughts and you're ingesting affirmations that you're not creating and that somebody else is creating, pumped into your living room, that is full of an emotion that they have, which
Hmm.
is fear, you're going to ingest that. And that's not a good look. That doesn't feel good in your body. It doesn't operate well in your system and your nervous system, your immune system. It dampens all of it in a time where we all need to elevate.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that there's not stuff going on, but what I am saying is the other component needs to be thoughtful, and we need to be aware of what we're taking in, because it truly is either nutritional or toxic food for
Hmm.
thought.
Hmm.
And it doesn't mean that you need to live in a bubble, but I guess what, if you don't know, if you don't watch the news for 2 days, will the sun still shine? Yes, it will. Will the birds still be out there? Hopefully.
Mm.
And if they won't, then we got bigger problems. And
Amen.
missing the news for a day is not one of them. So, I am a big believer in surrounding yourself and creating an internal and external experience of positivity and health, and being that, because that's what the world needs. It needs, as what you're doing, it needs you to show up as you, because
Hmm.
when you do, your heart shows up, and when your heart shows up, I feel it, and when I feel it, you feel it, and together the two of us are creating this vortex that hopefully people that are watching this can feel us,
Hmm. Hmm.
because we're two men in this day and age who are active and who are present and who care about what's going on in the world.
Ah, you're saying such beautiful things, and I mean, I'm feeling this vortex in my heart right now, just spinning out of control, and I'm just like, keep it coming, baby, keep it coming. Like, this is the whole reason I do this for you, honestly, just to like what you said, just create the environment. As becoming an artist, coming from a scientific background of, trying to get into medicine and just really looking at the world in under a scrupulous lens. I don't know even know if that makes sense, but just analyzing everything to be what it is on the surface almost, and not really digging into, I don't know, the spiritual, and then uh, kind of seeing how the spiritual, even what you're saying, just what you ingest is affecting how our mind works, and it is scientifically backed up. How, again, you are what you eat, kind of thing, like you mentioned, and you are what you consume. If your thoughts are stuck in fear, or stuck in problems that survival, then you will never be able to think on higher thoughts, like art, like maybe I should apologize for the things I've done in my past lives, about, just like hurting my friends or hurting my family, or because your mind won't be able to get to that deep level of introspection if your forethought is survive, survive, survive. So what you touched on is, I mean, it's incredibly nutritional, and it's incredibly useful for everybody, especially this time of our time, environment, um, all that stuff, all that stuff. I want to jump in, into how, I guess, what kind of led you down this path. What was the thing that made you realize that, the content that we are consuming, whether visual or even, the food, is having this effect on your body, and how has it changed you personally to have made this jump, and where are you now mentally? What are you seeing, and how is life affect? How are you interacting with life?
Whew. Wow, that was a couple questions.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
word
no, all
salad.
good. I love it. I love it. So, um, so my journey, how I got here, is, um, it's an interesting one. You know, so growing up back east as a sensitive male, and sensitive meaning I could feel a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't really know what to do with it. And there weren't a lot of role models, either A, within my community in New Jersey, B, within my family, and C, within the media, and D, within other men about how to be, a heart centered
Mm-hmm.
male, or what that looked like, or how to express like that, or what this, all this information coming in meant, like what to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I adapted, and so my adaptation was to, on some level, create a facade, toughen up, um, find ways to navigate my world
Mm-hmm.
and figure things out so that I was safer, so that I was more prosperous, and so I became very clever.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun and and lucrative, and at one point it got boring.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that the fun, something felt off, even though it was still fun, even though it was still lucrative. It just felt like, okay, so this is it. This is
Mm-hmm.
what it, I just a bigger life is a bigger house is a bigger that. I mean, like I wasn't feeling the depth, and I didn't know how to do that. And I just had in, I would say in a meditation, but it was just a, let's call it a download, because I wasn't really meditating.
Mm-hmm.
But I just got this realization of, oh, I think I've got this upside down. I've got this backwards. And this was one moment, and then it took many years later, fast forward to what I did with this. But the realization was, I think what I've got upside down is that my heart, I haven't been living in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I've been living in my head, and because I've been living in my head, I've got things figured out.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, it it wasn't far off. Like, so in other words, I would know a conversation how it would go. I would know different things. Like, I could see a lot of things down the road,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, it can't be this easy. It can't, not easy, but it can't be like that. I
Mm-hmm.
can't know ahead of time. So there's an organicness in this life that I'm missing, a piece of that, and it's hard to describe as quality. So the question I asked myself was, what would happen if I lived with my heart as the CEO and my head as the personal assistant? What would that look like? As opposed to my head is the entire organization. Because I was in corporate, so this is how I thought, right?
Uh-huh.
So the answer to that was, right now I'm figuring it out. So if my heart is my CEO, my heart doesn't think like that. My heart says, oh, we should go to Argentina soon. And the personal assistant's like, oh, okay, so I'm going to book the flight on Tuesday, and you're going to fly in this, and then you stay in this for this many days, and da da da. Or like, it handles the details, right? My energetic personal assistant, and my heart's like, perfect,
Mm-hmm.
great, rock and roll. And so it created a completely different dynamic of, keeping my head involved, but not, that's the way that I lived.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of the first shift.
Mm-hmm.
And then it took me a while to really understand what that meant and how to open up to that and live in that way. And there was another awakening. So that was the first, and then I moved to LA. I quit my corporate, moved to LA, started acting, and then when I started doing that, I had a deeper realization about how I wanted to create my life, and what the process of unraveling what I had built, not, you know, like throwing everything away, but unraveling belief systems and things that got me to a particular place,
Mm-hmm.
to look at what can I create that is completely different, that really satisfies my soul and who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got down to like a core level of revising values of how I'm living my life, and in ways that I had never looked at living before, and that immediately made choices that I'd never seen before become front and center, and scary new things to do,
Mm-hmm.
about ways to relate to people, things to say, and ways to be. So all of a sudden I was becoming very intimate with my vulnerable expression,
Mm.
which I had spent my entire life avoiding.
Oh.
So yeah, so I just started unraveling that and just starting showing my heart and including that in conversation, showing up as far forward, as stretched
Mm-hmm.
out, as scary as I could. And it was so interesting because and I wasn't looking for feedback, but
Mm-hmm.
people would start to give me feedback in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Feedback as in, uh, somebody might say, and on these are things that I've heard multiple times. I've never had a conversation like this before
Mm-hmm.
in my life. Or I would talk to somebody for a couple minutes and they would start crying.
Mm-hmm.
Or these kinds of things would happen on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody in a line, they're next in line at Best Buy. We talk for a minute and a half, and tears start well up in their eyes. The people just there was there's a presence and a something that I tapped into my heart
Mm-hmm.
that people could feel immediately, and um, it became the feeling for me, not the reflection from other people, but the feeling for me became so potent,
Mm-hmm.
so magical, so deep, and so intimate that I couldn't really imagine not living that way.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I live a life like everybody else, where it's like I'm asleep, I'm awake, asleep, I'm awake, right? We drift through all
We
of
do.
this. Yeah, and so you can wake up a little bit more when you decide that you want to wake up more,
Mm-hmm.
and when you start to see and feel what that feels like, and that becomes a commitment, and that commitment comes down to making a choice of I'm okay with being right or wrong. I'm not attached to a particular outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm attached to connection. Well, not attached, but I'm interested and committed to connection,
Mm-hmm.
the magic, to
Mm-hmm.
this is now we're talking about me. I am committed to creating a legacy of love in
Mm.
my life.
Ugh, my gosh. Jeffrey, I mean, first of all, thank you for everything you said. Thank you for capturing this beauty. I feel like you just captured my last 5, 6, 7 years of my life in your own story. This has been like it's wonderful to see you, and it's wonderful to share this screencast with you because you are the people that I look for. You're the people I'm trying to connect. So, because the love that we have established in our heart, the love that we can share by living heart centeredly, that is the thing that I too have seen missing from the public, from the general population. And it's like you said, you just show up into a room and people's eyes light up, and it's beautiful. But at the same time, that should be the norm for
Yeah,
everybody. Because
yeah,
if we can all get to that point, if we can all get to this authenticity, I can't even imagine what is possible, you
right,
know?
right.
So, oof, uh, thank you. Like it doesn't matter. So what's the next step? What do we think we should do? Like, obviously connecting with each other, with individuals like ourselves, that's step number one, unite with a similar understanding, with a similar mission in mind. What are we to do next? What are your next goals or steps?
Yeah, well, I'm clear that this is a time that is calling us all in to who we are and to what our opportunities are. And it's up to us how we claim that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are many things going on,
Mm-hmm.
right? There are many things going on in the world at this point in time, and I believe they can all concurrently happen at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, does this theory preclude this theory? Probably not. Multiple of those can happen at the same time, but what is happening on one level is everybody has been asked to go inside,
Mm-hmm.
right? Physically. And also, I think, on an emotional and a spiritual level too,
Mm-hmm.
that request is being made and that opportunity is being presented.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go inside, you get the opportunity to really look at who you are being and who you want to be and the type of life that you want to create.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a- and it's difficult. And when I work with people, and most of what I'm offering at this point in time, I'm offering through the end of May one free coaching session a day if somebody would like to take advantage of
Mm-hmm.
that. So I've had some people take advantage of that. I mean, and people are in this state of stress, right? They're in a state of overwhelm, which is, it's kind of like if we were a video game, we would be tilt. It's too much information,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's too much for our nervous system. We're kind of in a shock state. And so, and we don't make smart decisions when we're in that state. We don't make smart decisions when we're, in a fighting state, or
Mm-hmm.
we're about to run out the window or out the door because we're in
Fight or
flight
flight.
state. So yeah, so the key is to get to a place where we are in a healthy state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're in that state, then we're in a healthy body, and we're also in a healthy emotion and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm doing right now, and what I think people should be doing, is looking at how we're operating, what's most important, and keeping ourselves leveled and grounded,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only way that we can be of service to ourselves, both our body, as we are continually feeding it thoughts, food for thoughts, right? And making nutritional choices. We're not. If you're in that grounded state, you won't be reaching for the Snickers bar and the Coke, or the the comfort food that isn't good for you. You won't be emotionally eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
The emotions that you'll be eating will be gratitude,
Mm.
love. You'll be making choices from there. I don't know about you, but I have never, ever, ever, ever seen anybody saying gratitude or blessing their Snickers bar before they eat it, or their Happy Meal. I mean, I could be wrong, and that could be happening, and I think it should be happening,
Mm-hmm.
but I just haven't seen it. But what I'm saying is, even that, like
Mm-hmm.
that mindset grounds you, right? Because when you're in fight or flight, you don't make smart decisions, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't digest the nutrition of whatever you eat. Even if you eat the most amazing food, you don't digest it properly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just it's almost like you're taking a Mars bar, or some kind of chocolate bar, and eating it, because you're not getting the nutritional value.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a state of gratitude, you're blessing your food, you're saying a prayer before it, you're saying your thanks before it. You acclimate and you align your body with a state of gratitude. You can't coexist in a state of gratitude and a state of fear at the same time. So you've now shifted your body into a state of digestion
Mm-hmm.
and health. So you can be grounded and you can move forward. And if you start your days that way, even with gratitude, and when you experience gratitude, it's an experience. When you
Mm-hmm.
experience gratitude, that's when you shift your physiology.
Mm-hmm.
And there's multiple ways you can experience gratitude, but the most important thing is to experience it. So you breathe it in, and you start to feel what gratitude feels like in your body. Like when you breathe it in. In fact, we can do it right now if you want to. It's fun. Yeah.
Let's do it right now.
Okay. So let's just close our eyes for a second. And anybody that's sitting here can just kind of take a breath, feel into your body. And then I would invite you to think of something, someone, some events in your life that you are grateful for, that you are deeply grateful for. Maybe it's a person who's made a difference in your life, just feeling what a difference they've made in your life, how much they mean to you, how grateful you are for them, and breathing that in into your belly, into your chest, and then exhaling it and noticing where that gratitude lives in your body as you breathe it in. For a lot of people, it'll tend to be in your chest someplace. You might feel a little tingling. It might have some color, might have some texture, might have a vibration. And as you breathe it in, picturing that gratitude, which is a feeling and emotion, which is energy in motion, and picturing the energy in motion of that gratitude expanding through your chest, expanding through your body with every breath, getting fuller and filling out through your arms, into your hands, into your legs, up your head, and with the next breath down into your feet, and picturing the energy of gratitude just vibrating and going outside of your body, expanding past your body. With each breath, this gratitude that you have, this love, this amazing feeling that you have, this contribution this person, this place, this moment has made in your life. And with the next breath, notice that you are now in a bubble of gratitude, that you have created. That state that you are living in is gratitude, and you're surrounded by that feeling, that vibration, that beautiful color, that sensation that you are creating that exists for you all the time based on what you focus on. And then just taking one last breath and opening your eyes and coming back.
Mm. Oof. Colors seem so much brighter now.
I know, right?
Ah, that was gorgeous. Thank you for that gift. Truly, thank
Yeah.
you for the gift, and thank you for offering a free lesson or a free session. I'm sure, hopefully people take advantage of that because, I mean, I know from experience, it's not a little bit of work. That is a lot of work um, invest. So thank you for offering that to people.
Yeah.
Uh, Whew, that feels good. I feel good. I feel grounded now. Ah, all right. So there's what you were mentioning, like I mean, infinite realities exist on the same plane, basically. You know, they're kind of stacked on each other. Have you gotten the, I guess, I mean, maybe the knowledge and understanding, or just at least a download that, just the perfection of the world as is, and honestly nothing really needs to change? Have you seen the world under that perspective?
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest source of stress is not accepting reality.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this should be this way. I'm mad because it's not like this. It's like, it's not like that. You're
Uh-huh.
getting mad at the world because it's not sunny or it's raining or whatever. Like, I get it. And there are things that you can change and things that you can't. And so you may be able to change some things externally, and you can definitely always change things internally, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can create that state of gratitude when the world is spinning out. You may be able to decide, okay, my neighbors are noisy and it's bothering me, so I can change that too. But other than that, I mean, it's super important to have your feet on the ground and to under you. Here's the thing: you can't change anything if you don't know where you are,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you can't, if you're not measuring, if you're trying to build a box and it involves nails, if you're not measuring where you need to put the nail in, and you don't know what the spacing is and what the world is that you're working with, then you're just like hammering maybe nowhere, right? You're not building anything. You're not creating it. You can't create
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
So, it doesn't mean you need to dwell in it, but just have some sense of that, and then also let go of that too,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be limited by that, but just have some grounding of where you are,
Mm-hmm.
and um, then you can have an opportunity to create what it is that you want and what is possible. And the most important thing that I feel that is important to add here is that I do believe in manifestation. I do believe that there are other energies in play, and the most important thing is I believe within the law of attraction is that within the word attraction is the word action.
Mm-hmm.
So, right, boom. So you need to do things. You can have a vision and you need to execute. And the way you do that is you see yourself, you become the person who creates what it is that you want to create
Mm-hmm.
and the world that you want to experience. So for me, back to my, the second time when I moved to LA and I did this deep dive and I looked at my values and things like that, I said, okay, I want to create a world of more connection, a more positivity. So I let go of things that were not in line with that, which was creating movies and programming that I thought was not carrying that energy forward. And then I started saying, okay, I want to experience more love in the world. So the first place I need to experience it is with myself.
Mm-hmm.
What does love feel like, so I can recognize it and so I can provide it for other people? Like, what does it feel like to be in a loving, open heart, so I can recognize it in other people and so I can present it for other people, so I can be it. So literally I'm in, like, just what we created, a world of gratitude. I'm swimming in a world of love, and that is something that I'm in. No matter what's going on around me,
Mm-hmm.
I still love myself. I still love life and I accept it as it is. And I have a vision of what I want to create, which is a legacy of love. So that
Mm-hmm.
is involves action. That involves me being a particular way and relating a particular way and showing my heart in a particular way and speaking in a particular way that, to be honest with you, is not always easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always easy to express your heart just in general, even in a loving space or in a place where it feels unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also part of that is reclaiming power
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that some of what is unsafe is what I have decided is unsafe. And so for me to just say, okay, I'm going to claim that where I go, I create safety
Mm-hmm.
for myself, and then I also know how to create it for other people too.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm creating that because I'm thinking, oh, I am in a safe world, I'm creating safety, then my nervous system calms down,
Mm-hmm.
and my experience of life is different. And again, my immune system has a better boost,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. It's a superfood. Love is a superfood.
Love is a superfood, and yeah, it's like
Yeah,
you create that environment inside yourself. You exude that environment. That environment starts to fill the physical environment, and then people get pulled into that. I'm sure we
yeah,
all know people that you can come into a room and you can set the emotional thermostat. Basically, you set how everything's gonna go. You either allow or disallow certain actions to take place. If somebody comes in and is a dick to somebody, be like, hey, you could punch him, or you could be like, "Hey, what's going on, man? Like, what's happening?"
right.
And maybe they can open up, and then you create a safe place to share to emotions, to share, even problems, and then you say, "All right, well, let's see how we can make this into a better situation for everybody," and that's what
Totally.
it is. Like we decide what happens. So,
A- Absolutely. I used to live in this world where if somebody did something to me, it was like, "Brr,"
mm-hmm,
I'm gonna stay something back, or they can't do that. And it's like, so literally, I don't exist
mm-hmm,
when I do that. There's no me
mm-hmm,
there. I am completely tied to somebody else. If they do something, I do something back.
mm-hmm,
The energy they give me, I give them back. There's no me there. like, what do I stand for? I don't stand for anything except for I stand for, some kind of justice, some kind of reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So it became a completely different way of living, living in a loving world that I created. And also, love can be tough though too. Love can
Mm-hmm.
be authentic. It can be real, and it's important to have that and to be able to do that. And that was interesting too, because um, as I started to unravel and heal my heart, it was, how do I express opinions or things that I want to say in ways that are kind,
Mm-hmm.
in ways, that I've never had expressed to me, that feel, difficult to express. How do I express that in a loving way?
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't have that modeled. So that was an interesting learning experience, super powerful,
Mm-hmm.
and by virtue of doing that, just opened my heart even
Mm-hmm.
more.
You get what you give. That was one of the biggest lessons that I still carry with me. It's like you go out there, you make this love, you give it back, or you just give it away. You sit in that state of love perpetually.
Yeah,
So since we're talking about this, what is your definition of love? What does it mean to you, and how can you share it with people?
yeah. So interesting. I used to ask. I created a course called Creating Conscious Relationships, and one of the things that we would ask is, "What is love to you?" And there were so
Mm-hmm.
many different definitions
Mm-hmm.
everybody had, and love to me, as I saw it, was understanding and accepting what is,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's no resistance to the person in front of you. So if you can, so then through love you can speak to them the way that you were just talking about before, right? It's not like somebody's reacting to what we were just saying. Somebody's reacting and you react back. But in other words, somebody's, triggered, and you can speak to their humanity, not their trigger,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're speaking from the heart, and you're feeling them, and you're feeling their pain, and you're speaking to that, versus you're like, you can't do that. I'm having these thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
this ego and this block and this thing, and we're in a fight now, and this is happening. You said those words, so I'm going to say these words, and that's tiring, you know.
Um,
So it's really, yeah, yeah. So
I agree. I mean, it's just about kind of taking yourself out of you, taking the projections that you may have, and just seeing an individual for who they are and appreciating them in their state of mind, whatever it may be. Saying this is what you're feeling. It's a valid feeling, regardless of what is going on. Let me appreciate it, like some Buddhist teachings, whatever they are. If you like a flower, you pluck it. If you love a flower, you water it daily, and you know allow it to become its best self. So
right.
that's been my definition, just pure unabided appreciation of something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just there. There are. I don't think there are ugly emotions. There may be ugly expressions of emotions.
Hmm.
But really, humanity is having a wide range of experiences.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, everybody on this planet was born, and everybody on this planet will die. And there's a cycle that we go through, and in between is our lives, and they're created by so many different things, and by choices, and by the world that we're brought up in, and things like that. And so it's really, um, it's just, yeah, it just keeps going back to
Hmm.
mindset and operating from your heart. And yeah.
So what are your thoughts on death?
It's interesting that you say that. I was in a personal development program, and one of the guys that I brought in to the program, through the whole process, just passed this morning. And he was a great guy,
Hmm.
and he's certainly not the only person that passed any particular day. And I think that, my relationship with death is changing and has been changing, and even rapidly in this um, experience that we're all having now.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe between the birth and the death, we have a gift that we bring to this world, and it, there's a grief of passing, but there's also a celebration of the gift that we brought, the gift of our energy, the gift of our interaction,
Mm-hmm.
the gift of every moment that we've passed on, energy, whatever that is, whatever choice that we made, we're going to be a positive influence, or we're just going to show up, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that happens to be. And I think that's important too. I think that, you know, there's more, there's a weird kind of fear of it and not talk about it, and, like push away from it in Western culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, death is a part of life.
Mm-hmm.
It, it is. And, I think that when we have a relationship with it, a true intimacy with death, not a fear, but we've integrated what it
Mm-hmm.
is into us, and that it is part of our lives and it's just another phase, then we can start to get clear on what we're going to do with the time before that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if we're living in a, oh, well, we're going to live forever and da da da, then there's no urgency. There, things just kind of flow by. But this is our incarnation, in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so the okay, so I'll share.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this download that's been sticking with me for the last couple of weeks,
Mm-hmm.
which is live every day as if your life depends on it,
Mm-hmm.
because it does, right? So every day your life, your actual life, depends on you living fully expressed. Like you're given one resource. We are all equal. This is an equalizer, right? Nobody's getting to go travel all over the place and have fun. Like, we're all in kind of this same spot. And the one resource that we all have that's the exact same is time, and how we spend it and what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And whether we decide to create, whether we decide to go deeper in, whether we decide to contribute, whatever we decide to do, that time is the same for you, for me, and for everybody. Now, I found that you can expand time a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You can move around in it. There's tricks that you can play with it. I mean, what's interesting is, just a quick example, is I've found that when I meditate at least 20 minutes in the morning, I have an experience of expanded time throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, time seems to be slower and kind of opened up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And when I don't, things are faster. I'm more overwhelmed. I'm like, what? I'm just not as focused. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like when I do my morning ritual, which I'm pretty spot on about it. But
Mm-hmm.
when I do that, I've got much more intention, much more clarity, much more groundedness,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, I've got more time, more access to it, more
Mm-hmm.
more intimacy with it.
Mm. That's beautifully said, and truly an amazing reminder. I've been in a place where I'm trying to recreate my morning ritual because, things change all the time. And
Mm.
I can definitely attest to that, the remembrance of what you said, and even just the small glimmers of remembrance of just when I do have a small ritual, make my green juice, maybe do a little bit of yoga, and then again, just setting that intention. It's like, all right, we're going to do whatever this today. And then everything is a decision, and everything is consciously done, rather than I wake up and just like, just start running around and doing stuff. Then yeah, you become frantic, and that is the energy that you stick around, just attached to yourself that whole day. Like yesterday, oh my gosh, you should have seen me. I was literally on the floor, just literally on the floor, like, moaning for a good half an hour, until I was like, all right, pick yourself up, go outside, and start just pulling some weeds. We have a little pond. Start cleaning up the pond and make it, looking nice. Put all your energy and intention into this. And after that, once that was done, or half of it was done because it's pretty big, came back inside, and then I was in a completely, steady mindset, steady heart, and I could actually make, better decisions. Played some music, read a little
Mm.
bit of book, had a conversation with some friends, and everything seemed to just simmer down and was much more pleasant. But yeah, I can definitely attest to just having a very strong morning ritual, because then, yeah, you're setting a tone for the day, and meditation is key. Is there any teachers that you follow? Maybe Alan Watts, Ram Dass, or any books that you read? Are you like, is there Buddhism in there? Like, how did you get to this understanding?
Yeah. So, a couple things. One is this is the introspection and is a way of life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not, in my head all the time, but I'm as present as I can be. That's my commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately my commitment is, again, a legacy of love and connection. And so that's part of it. You can't connect if you're not being present.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a lot of personal coaching, therapy, plant medicine, meditation, books, and saying yes to a lot of different modalities, somatic yoga. So just consistently unraveling from different levels. And the things that I know are true is that that your mindset, as we were talking about, is super important, and your body carries emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we don't express that emotion, it can get locked up. Again, it can wear down your immune system, but also it can start to lock up,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you have a lot of tension in your body, you don't have tension when you're like, there's not a lot of people who are like, hey, I'm on vacation in the Bahamas for 3 weeks and I'm so tense, man. I'm so tense. That doesn't happen, right? They're like, I'm at the office and I'm like tense, or I don't like my job and I'm tense, or this thing's that, so the tension, when it gets real tight, they don't call that a yes, they call it a not,
Ah,
right?
that's
It's
funny.
like, yeah, it's a form of resistance to what is.
Mm-hmm.
So to take it full circle, you're not loving your life,
Mm-hmm.
and that you're not expressing from your heart. So you're not moving the emotions through, and they're getting stuck in your body. So I know that the body is super important, and I
Mm-hmm.
incorporate that, and I encourage people to incorporate that. It's part of, my morning ritual
Mm-hmm.
and movement and breath work
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And I love the fact that you're going outside, because grounding has been super important for me for the
Mm-hmm.
last couple of weeks. It's always been important, but like I
Mm-hmm.
really get how important it has been over these last few weeks I walk out. I mean, there's not grass right outside. It's half a block away, and then there's a park. So
Mm-hmm.
I walk down the street barefoot, walk into the
Mm-hmm.
park. I
Uh,
roll around the ground. I smell the grass.
mm-hmm.
I get some sun. I, do some push-ups. I pull up on the whatever flat tree limb that I can find that I'm not going to break. And yeah.
Oh.
So I become a monkey, and I, do my grounding, and then I come back and I'm in another state. It's beautiful.
Dude, when this is over, I'm gonna drive to California and we're gonna climb trees. Because honestly, you're saying everything that I love to do. And I found myself in the UK a couple of years back, and just literally just jump on a tree, sitting drinking tea, and
Yeah.
I'm looking down. I'm just like, man, nobody even sees me. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not that high up. Nobody's looking up. Everybody's so just focused on, well, not even focused. They're just so
Yeah.
distracted. And I'm like, bro, there's this weird ass looking motherfucker, me. Like, I dress like a kook all the time, and I
Mhm.
love it. I'm sitting on a tree, drinking tea, singing songs, and you don't even, I can see that you can't see me. It's insane. So yeah, we should definitely jump on some trees and see what
Let's do
happens.
it. Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I was outside taking a nap a couple days ago, just laid down on the grass, sun beaming, which is nice because in Washington it's we don't always get that warmth, but it's coming. It's coming.
Uh-huh.
Just
Nice.
dogs come around, just hug a dog, sleep.
Uh,
Man, it's honestly it's been amazing.
Mm.
Like even though there's a whole bunch of things going on, and there are difficulties. The biggest thing that I found is, yeah, just attach yourself to the moment, and just be here, be present. And there might be uncertainties in the future. If they come, take care of it then. Right now, just do your best at this moment. Try to reach out for the resources that are available. Try to um, just stay level-headed, just grounded, and make your best decisions from a place of just understanding and love again, because fear does not help anybody.
Yeah, the book. There's two books I'll mention. I didn't completely answer your question
Mm-hmm.
before. One, the book "Man's Search for Meaning"
Ooh.
looks at one of the things it talks about is when the people who survived the Holocaust, those people were people who had a why. They had a reason for living.
Mm-hmm.
They had something that they were connected to that was bigger than them.
Mm.
And so that right there, I'm putting that into this conversation because I think it's important. Anybody that may be watching this that feels confused, overwhelmed, or stressed or disconnected, there may be some disconnection from your why. And so when you connect back into that, you'll find your energy, you'll find your creativity, you'll find your essence. The suffering can be shifted.
Mm-hmm.
The 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 actual things that are happening may not be able to be shifted, but the experience of them and the suffering can be shifted.
Mm-hmm.
So attack attaching and looking at what your why is, and then a book that I do recommend quite a bit that I think is powerful and that I got a lot out of was The Untethered Soul
Mm-hmm.
by Michael Singer. Have you ever read that?
I have not. No.
Oof,
Mm-hmm.
oof. Yeah, that's legit.
That'd be lovely. That'd be lovely.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll wrap it up in like 10 minutes, because I know you have a call to get to, and I want you to be on time for everything. Um, so just to piggyback on the why thing. If we're to, we get to the place where we can appreciate life and love it for what it is, and see it for what it is, and see that the negatives, or the evil, we can say, the things that take us away from alignment, uh, also lead to alignment. Even the suffering, you don't want to take suffering away from an individual, because that suffering will get them to a point of such pain where they decide that they're not worth that, and they want better, and then that's what triggers the transformation into becoming an individual like perhaps you and me, where we would just accept things as they are, and love them, and try to make the best out of it. At least I'm sure that's how it happened to me. I'm sure that's how it happened to you as well. So if honestly, there is no right, there is no wrong. Ultimately, everything is in perfect unity, and everything, yin and yang again. There's good, there's bad, there's good in the bad, there's bad in the good. What like what who's calling me? Get out of here. Uh, what's the why at that point? Because sometimes I find myself say, you know what, honestly, everything is perfect the way it is, and like, we have our personal decisions to go out there and do something in the world, maybe love or whatnot. But why would anybody choose to get involved if they understand that everything is just perfect?
Right. Um, it feels a bit like you're collapsing something.
Possible.
The why might not be an assessment of what's happening in the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the assessment of the world might be everything is perfect. Life is what it is. The world is not judging that rose because one of its leaves are turning brown, or that person that's aging, or whatever it happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
Life is perfect in what it is, and collapsing that with my why or your why, and my why would be to create more love in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So if if that's what I want to do, just sitting there saying, oh, life is perfect, that is not aligned with my why. What I'm here to do, and why I'm here, is to create more love in the world and leave the world better because there's a legacy of love. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I'm attached to. Somebody else their why might be, I've got two kids, and that's why I need to live longer and why I need to make this world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Your why might be, I'm here to be a facilitator for new voices and energies that make a positive contribution in the world. And that why won't be connected to the world is a beautiful place. Those are
Mm-hmm.
two distinctly different things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. That's perfect, honestly. I mean, and I think that was a
Yeah.
good explanation of like stone Buddha versus a living Buddha, where a stone Buddha, you can sit in the cave, say, all right, here's all the understandings, and just, the outside world doesn't penetrate into what they are or who they are. And then a living Buddha is living amongst the society and all the problems, and then going out there, showing up, and being like what you're saying, being a source of love and a source of um, or a connection to that understanding that other people can see, even though they're going through a whole mess of things themselves, or just surrounded by it, and just remaining balanced and remaining stable, moving forward to express that love and create a legacy of love. That was very well put.
Right.
Um,
Thanks.
what do you think is our ultimate potential? What do you think we are capable of as maybe humans, or even just a conscious mind?
That's an interesting question. So what I just got was something that I've started to really understand, or that I see with clients, and some of the study that I've done around um, consciousness, whether it's David Hawkins and some of his books, or some of the other things. But um, what is interesting is that you can't know and make a decision um, correctly from one state of being and one level of consciousness about another one.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other words,
Mm-hmm.
so if I'm in, let's say the lowest level of consciousness, which would be shame. So and shame is about I'm a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think, and there's no, like, it's the energy of that is, it's almost depressive. It's heavy. It's, this is not an active level of consciousness that's going to propel you up. So there's a couple levels. Like once you get to anger, then you can start to get some energy. There's energy in anger. So you can start to direct that in a positive way, so that you can go up to courage, and you can
Mm-hmm.
get into love and joy and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in shame, in this heavy, non-moving energy, it's hard to make a decision about what you can say, oh, I want a loving life and things like that, but you don't know what that feels like, what that looks like, and how to create that necessarily from this one level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what's interesting is it's almost like, so this is how I describe it sometimes. It's almost like saying, I want this kind of life when you're in, and I don't mean this as a judgment, but just as a point of reference.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in third grade, I want this type of life, right? And then you're 30 years old, fast forward, and you're like, the life that you want at 30, when you're already in that, state.
Mm-hmm.
Or myself, when I got to that, place that I'd made a decision I wanted to be at, and the clients that I work with, you're kind of like, oh, well, I made this from a different mindset, and that decision serve that mindset, but I'm not in that mindset anymore. I'm in a different level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And the decision that I made when I was in third grade, or in that level of consciousness, doesn't match what would best serve me at this level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
How can I envision, when I'm in a level of consciousness of shame, what I would want, and what I would want to experience when I'm at a level of love? I
Mm-hmm.
can't even possibly wrap my head around it.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that we are capable of much more love, much more health, more magic than
Mm-hmm.
we even know. I believe that we are magical. I don't know that I could say. I guess the first part of my answer was, I don't know that I could say, we're capable of this, this, and this. I can say
Mm-hmm.
in general, the things that we are capable of are as big as we can dream them.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And so that's again why it's so important to dream them and to also dream them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that they're tied together. Make sure that, what we're creating is tied to a center,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's just take one thing. So there's a question that I have sometimes about this creation of AI, artificial intelligence. So if that's not connected to a heart-centered way of creating, then we have now created a disembodied level of intelligence
Mm-hmm.
that's not attached to any spirituality or heart-centered way of being, which to me sounds a bit like what got us into this issue in the first place.
That makes sense.
So turning up the dial on that disembodied way of making decisions sounds like um, it might not be the way to go. And if
Mm-hmm.
there's a way to integrate the spirit in that, that's important.
Wow.
I, I think the human spirit is resilient, powerful, magical, and uh, yeah, I'm just so honored to be on this earth at this
Mm.
time.
Mm.
I'm so honored to be on this
Mm.
podcast with you. You're such a magical, colorful person, and
Thank you.
I feel you. So
I feel you too, my
appreciate
friend. This has been
it.
one of the greatest conversations. I mean, this is amazing. Thank you for being a presence here. Thank you for sharing your insights. I'd love to rummage in your brain for
Yeah,
an eternity. Honestly, I feel like there's so much juicy goodness in there, and there's so many parallels that you and I share that I think we could really have something interesting. If you're ever interested in a future podcast, I would be happy to have you on. Also, I'd love to add you to a group of people that I found who are similar, like you and me, who are doing some positive change. And if you'd like to connect with them, like I hope that you do, so we can do something interesting in this world that is leaving a legacy of love for the future generations. Um, is there anything else that would you like to leave with my listeners, or just for the world before we go?
yes, there is. So I do want everybody to know that's listening that you are not alone,
Mm.
and that whatever's going on for you, there is some support. And if that support is needed with a call, um, I'm happy to provide that to anybody and to help them, because I know that this too shall pass,
Mm.
and that there is love and support there for all of us. And I'm part of the light team, as you are.
Mm.
And so I think it's super important for all of us to show up. And I just want to make sure that anybody that needs any help can get it. So I just want to let them know that there is love
Mm-hmm.
and it's available.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Jeff. That was amazing. I really, thank you for offering that connection to people, because yeah, sometimes people are drowning, and it is a huge investment on your part to be there for that. I mean, to a lifeline. So I really hope that people connect with that. Obviously, you have a lot to teach. You have a lot to a lot of guidance that you could offer out of any darkness that people might be feeling. So again, I commend you for your life, for your efforts, for your legacy. Truly, deeply love you for being here and for sharing this. And we will be, I mean, we'll get together once again.
Good. I love it. We're
Mm.
connected.
Yes,
Let's
we
stay
are.
connected.
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, Facebook and all that stuff.
Yep.
I'm gonna let you go. I know you have things to do. Kick ass, my friend. Like, truly,
All right.
keep on keeping on. But I'll talk to you soon. Love you, bro.
All right. You too, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Peace.
Bye.